This is pretty much a pretty undocumented little deal that I've wanted a 350 Foreman that actually ran, that I could build for 2 or 3 years now. I always said that I'd never get one unless it was 4-linked, or unless I 4-linked it myself, because anybody that has these knows that they ride like absolute crap. So I ran across this one and I got it for I think $350 with no rear end, and obviously since I hoard that sort of stuff, I got a rear end, so I put one underneath of it, put a different harness on it, and CDI from another bike. I'm not going to get into that, and just rigged it up there, and much to my surprise it runs, and it doesn't smoke either. Probably will eventually, because I'm sure it's probably not been rebuilt, but for now doesn't smoke. Now the cool thing is it's got a Cobra exhaust on it, which actually sounds pretty good and is kind of old school, and I like it. Pretty much everything about these bikes is old school. Typical gas tank was rusty, not rusted out, just rusty. But after that, I can't start it right now because I don't have the harness on properly. I've just been jumping it off that truck battery there, and we pretty much did like I think it's like a 3-inch body lift or so. I'm not really sure how big it was. Between that and stretch, which was at a pretty high angle with a good U-joint, and a little longer stretch in the front because I didn't want the U-joint angle to be so much. It clears these 35 sledgehammers like really well, actually, and it's still pretty narrow, even though it probably doesn't look like it. But I made the rims and custom offset them and whatnot. They don't look the best, but they look decent, I think. And scratched the shit out of them while mounting them as usual. Would have helped if I actually waited a little bit, but didn't really do a good job painting them either. But I didn't care. I just didn't want them to rust. Now on to the cool part. Goofy plastic. On to the cool part. Obviously you can see keep in mind most of this is spot welded, and I was a little butthurt because I had this and this where there wasn't almost any gap, and I spot welded it and did quite a bit of welding and didn't realize that it moved, so now I gotta fill that crap in and grind it out. But I guess that ain't that bad. Anyway, the cool part is got some 300EX shocks, decently stiff, but not super stiff, but obviously they're mounted far up, and it is not a proper 4-link, because I'm sure somebody that does this crap for a living or whatever else, because there's always that guy, is about normal everything. The 2 bars on the bottom are usually straight, or pretty straight, and they're usually even, but that's not really that easy because this differential's in the way. So I made do with what I could do with at the time, and I'm not going to say that this does not need braced here, because it does in my opinion, and I probably will. And then same thing with this. Normally they kind of make these into like an X-beam, but obviously I don't have that sort of room, so I didn't. And I don't have the floor jack out here, but you'll just have to take my word. But we jacked it up with the tires on it. Oh, and obviously got to have the little track bar type deal, just like with any. I still got to do some bracing with this to keep it from possibly ripping off from the frame up here that I don't think it would, but it might. But obviously it is not a proper 4-link by any means, but it flexes pretty damn good. And we measured it with a floor jack underneath of it before that tire started coming off the ground. And keep in mind, this is with no weight on the bike, just picking it up on one corner. It had about 15.5 inches, almost 16 inches underneath of it. It's kind of hard to tell because obviously the lugs are enormous for 35-inch sledgehammers on a 14-inch rim. And the other thing is, yes, this thing will float a lot because, I mean, it's got balloon tires on rims, small rims at that. So on top of that, really I just need to finish doing a lot of welding on this and some bracing. I got to brace that track bar type deal. I got to brace this lower mount. I got to finish bracing this rear swing arm so it doesn't flex, because right now it actually acts like the rear is partially 4-linked, even though it really isn't. It just flexes more than it should, and it's just spot welded together mostly anyway. But yeah, it clears these 35s pretty darn easily, like really easily. Isn't too stiff, too soft, not bad. Front moves really nice. I mean, it ain't soft, but it's plush. And motor runs good. As people know, I make gear reductions for myself and everybody else that asks for them. So I made myself one, and I'm gonna be running. I think this one was like 100%. Because keep in mind, reductions in these motors, the 350Ds, are a lot bigger than a 300 because of the gearing, different, the transmission and side shaft stuff. So I think this is a 100% or 100.7. That if it's not enough, I can easily step up to like a 1. I think it was a 113, and I could always go a little bit bigger than that even, but I think that'll be good enough. If not, I can always do a big bore and then decide to step up and down. And also to the moron that wasted a ton of time in Messenger, that I know watches these videos, that says my TIG welds look like shit. I freehand all this because I hate, and I mean absolutely hate, turntables. So to me, that is actually pretty good. And it's hard to see, but there is not penetration all the way through, but I guarantee if I was to cut this open and use that weld developed stuff, it's easily almost all the way through. But anyway, I've been working on this for like 2.5 weeks. I got a lot of stuff to do to it still, a lot of piddly stuff, and probably another 2 weeks, maybe 3 for sure. It'll be all done, and you'll probably see a video of it floating through a pod, possibly breaking something. I hope not, but if it does, that's fine. And other than that, sorry for the lack of videos, but I didn't really get that many from the Red Creek ride, so obviously I didn't post very many. I also I haven't hardly been messing with anything else. I'm pretty sure the 350 Foreman powered bike, the 300, pretty sure that it actually runs, but the portals, I need to redo some stuff on it. Blue bike needs a lift built for the front, and some minor motor stuff tore into. But all in all them required more work than just building this bike. So I had this and I wanted to build it, so I built it. And there's also a 450 Foreman that I kinda did not repo to an extent from a guy that bought it and then decided he didn't want it, but let me keep some of the money that he owed me because he really ragged it out pretty good. So I got a lift that I can put on that, and I was going to make an independent rear suspension too. But as far as everything else goes, I just got to do a lot of tidying up on this. And I mean, we got a good sized paddle. Yeah, just joking. That's the paddle for it. There's a 5-gallon bucket to compare it. Yeah, that paddle's not for this bike at all. Way too big. In fact, it's ridiculous, but that's kind of why I built it, because it's funny. But other than that, I'd probably just keep an eye out that I'm sure this thing will be seen floating through a pond or something stupid. What else are we going to do with it? We don't actually have many places to ride. But that's about it, really. Think of anything cool or interesting, other than maybe just whenever I first start testing this some. I might post another video or something, but other than that, yeah, that's it. So hopefully keep watching, and eventually I'll get something finished.